you've got a small penis and you're confident, I don't think it's going to make a difference. I think you're going to make it work no matter what. But if there's something that's lacking for you and your confidence is lacking, that could make all the difference. Filler, silicone implant, they're both very effective ways to enhance your penis in 2025. Well, today is the episode and podcast where we are going to get right into it, dive right into the meat and discuss what is penile enhancement in 2025. Hey guys, welcome to the Gentleman's Vault. This is episode 3. I'm your host, Dr. Goodman, and today we're going to be talking about penile enhancement. So let's get right to it. So, step number 1, penile enhancement 2025. Why am I even mentioning this topic? As many of you know, I have a TikTok channel, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube channel, and my goal has been to dispel many of these myths and educate men over what penile enhancement is, why is it relevant, are guys doing this, is it safe, is it effective, does it work? Well, today is the episode and podcast where we are going to get right into it, dive right into the meat and discuss what is penile enhancement in 2025. When I was growing up, I saw many infomercials, late night TV, talking about pills and traction devices and all kinds of things to get a bigger schlong, get a bigger pickle. And, you know, as kids, we joked about this. I mean, everybody knew these things existed, but was it a reality? Could you actually get a bigger penis? And if so, why? Would anybody even consider this? Guys, today we're going to talk about it, okay? But let's get right into the practicalities. First of all, is penile enhancement real and is it possible? In 2025, yes, it is. Absolutely possible. It's safe, it's effective, it works, and many guys are doing it. So let's talk about the 2 most common ways you can enhance your penis and do so in a way that's safe and effective and also with FDA approval, okay? The first one I'm going to talk about is one procedure that I do quite a bit myself, which is penile filler, using hyaluronic acid-based filler. I'm not talking about the silicone fillers. I'm not going to dive into that in today's episode, but hyaluronic acid-based filler, which is FDA approved and safe and effective as a means of doing semi-permanent or what I call temporary enhancement. Okay, that's number 1. It works, it's safe, it's effective, and lots of guys are doing it. It's a 15-minute procedure. I'm going to go into the details in just a bit. The second means of getting some penile enhancement is with a silicone-based penile implant. This is a device that you implant, and you can get a permanent fixed length in both girth when your penis is erect as well. So you're going to get both size, length, and girth with an implant. And that would be considered permanent. However, it is a device or a piece of hardware that is going to be implanted into the penile tissue. There are other means, like I alluded to, like the silicone-based filler, but I'm not going to get into those because it's not FDA approved and I'm not sure it's completely safe in the long term, okay? A lot of big questions about that. So let's talk about the differences between the hyaluronic acid-based filler and the silicone implant, okay? Hyaluronic acid-based filler, it's the same type of filler that many women and some men will get in the lips or face, okay? The difference being when you inject it into the penile tissues, you want to get it right in the perfect layer so it doesn't migrate, okay? And this is a procedure which, when done, can produce a safe, natural, effective means of getting both girth and length enhancement. The procedure takes about 15 to 20 minutes in total. It's almost painless, and folks are going to get touch-ups at the 12 to 18 month mark, okay? It's not going to naturally, absolutely disappear at those timelines, but that's when you're going to notice some loss. Additionally, the more hydrated you are, the more increase in both girth and length you're going to see with a procedure like that. However, the hyaluronic acid is really to give you that flaccid length and girth enhancement, to really make growers become showers. And for guys that have lost some length over the years, it's going to be a great option. The other plus side to the hyaluronic acid-based filler is there is no limit as to how far you can go. You can just keep adding more and more. At some point, it may not be aesthetic, but really the limitations are on how much can you afford to pay and how much you want. With the silicone-based implant, you're really going for 1 to 1.5 fixed length in girth and length, but that is more so for folks that just want something permanent. They don't want touch-ups, and they're okay with getting a piece of hardware implanted down there. Now, there is a lot of stigma about putting hardware in the body, but we've been doing this for years, and for the most part, these devices, this hardware is relatively inert, can be put in safely, and done by an experienced surgeon. Complications tend to be minimal. So 2025, these procedures are available. Those are the two ones I'm going to focus on today. But let's get into the meat of potatoes, okay? Guys that are interested in this, it works, it's safe, it's effective, but which guys are actually getting this done? Well, let's talk about it. In my practice, and in many of my colleagues' practices, it would surprise you. The ages range from early 20s up until 50s and 60s, and sometimes even older. Essentially, we're talking about sexually active men that are interested in some type of enhancement because either they're not happy with what they were born with or they simply desire more. Okay, maybe they are happy, but they want more. The other group, or third group, are the guys that used to have more and have lost it due to age, shrinkage, the good old you don't use it or lose it group. And so those men, they tend to be older. They want what they once had. So really, you're getting a whole plethora of guys, and sometimes the guys aren't even small at all. I've seen guys come in with pretty girthy and long penises, and they want more too. So if you're a man out there and you have a penis, there's a good chance you may consider this at some point. Now, more is not always better, so it is very individualistic as to how much someone is going to want their penis enhanced, okay? But the demographics would surprise you. Additionally, when I first got into this, I thought it was going to be a lot of single guys getting this done. But on the contrary, most guys do have partners. Okay, that surprised me. And many of them are married and with a long-term partner. So it's kind of they're not a mutually shared upon decision. So it's really important when you're going through something like this that if you do have a partner, that you consider their thoughts and feelings. After all, you're going to be using it with them. So we talked about the demographics. Let's talk about what to expect. In both the silicone implant and the hyaluronic acid-based filler, these are outpatient procedures. The filler is done in the clinic under local anesthetic, and we're talking 15 to 20-minute procedure. You're in and out. It's virtually painless. The worst part is going to be the little stick and poke with the lidocaine injection. Done completely under local. For the silicone implant, we're talking about an hour procedure, typically with general anesthesia, but sometimes can be done with local. And again, you're going to be able to go home the same day. So for both these procedures, you're talking about very short procedures, outpatient stay, safe, effective, where you can use and get the results relatively quickly. However, with the silicone implant, again, you're getting a device, and so the upfront costs are going to be more. Prices are going to range anywhere from 15 to 20K for a silicone implant. Hyaluronic acid based, it's going to depend on the volume in which you inject. Okay, could be as low as $2,000 upwards of $10,000. Also with the hyaluronic acid based filler, you may want touch-ups, you may want additions, and over time it's not permanent. So over the duration of a longer lifetime, you may be injecting more, you may be paying more. So that is something to consider. However, if you just want to get your feet wet, if you're just curious as to what this might be, you might have a much lower upfront cost for hyaluronic acid-based filler. And also, it's reversible. If you don't like it, it can just dissolve with time, or we can give you an enzyme to help dissolve it sooner. With the silicone implant, if you don't like it, you're going to have to get a surgery to get it removed. Okay? So pros and cons for each of them. Additionally, if you're really small and want to keep stacking on filler, well, with filler, there's no limit, whereas the silicone implant, you're pretty stuck with a fixed length and girth. So those are some big differences there. However, if you are considering one or the other, consider that getting a filler first does open more options later. And if you get the silicone implant done, you may be disturbing some of those tissues, which would make placing filler harder later. Okay, that's something to consider. So I told you what to expect. Procedures are both relatively short, both safe and effective. I'm going to talk about something that is kind of unique to filler, which maybe isn't so much with the silicone implant, but something I've observed over the years. Now, this is not necessarily FDA approved, but I do tell, for this indication, but I do tell folks, when you do a lot of filler, guys come back and they say two things. They say, one, the sensation has been enhanced. That's because stretching of those skin, those nerve fibers, so they have better sensation. And in addition to the better sensation, they say their erections tend to get better. And my hypothesis on this is that the filler is basically causing a compressive action on the corpora, on those blood vessels. So less blood is needed to fill the chamber. Less blood needed to fill the chamber means a harder erection. So lots of guys get a heavier, stronger, thicker, better penis because of filler. And that's something unique that I've just noticed after doing lots of filler on guys. So something to keep in mind. If your erections are a little lukewarm and you want something to give it a little jazz, filler could be a great option. Okay, so now the real question is, I told you guys, filler, silicone implant, they're both very effective ways to enhance your penis in 2025. The real question is, why would you really consider something like this beyond the practical means of you just want a bigger penis? Well, in the animal kingdom, it is well known that males go through great efforts to distinguish themselves amongst other males in hopes of attracting a mate. We see this with birds. They do these eloquent dances. We see it in the animal kingdom as males develop, just like peacocks, bigger, more beautiful, more robust wings and colors and so forth. And for humans, I believe this is really no different. Ultimately, whether it be your muscles, your money, the clothes you wear, your intellect, males, we are always distinguishing ourselves amongst other males, okay? But ultimately, all of these things that you do to distinguish yourself, I believe, come down to confidence. You have a nice watch, you have a nice car, you have a nice house, a good job, good IQ, you're smart, you're funny, you're tall, maybe you're muscular, whatever it may be. Ultimately, it's your self-confidence. If you've got a small penis and you're confident, I don't think it's going to make a difference. I think you're gonna make it work no matter what. But if there's something that's lacking for you and your confidence is lacking, that could make all the difference. I've seen countless guys come to me and say, simply by enhancing their penis, their confidence shot up. They do better at their work, their love life gets better. Even their partners tell me, gosh, Joe is just so much happier. He's just better, he's nicer, he's more confident in himself. And the patients tell me that too. So if ultimately penile enhancement results in more confidence, you feel better about yourself, why would you not consider doing it? Okay? There's a lot of upside and not a lot of downside. Okay? Especially when we're talking about filler for something that's reversible and could be invested for as low as $2,000 potentially just to try it out. So I think, why penile filler? Why penile enhancement? Why get a silicone implant? It comes down to confidence. Okay. And it's a little crazy because I see guys will pay and join groups for guys to teach them how to date, how to talk to women, how to set up their Tinder profiles or dating apps. And they'll invest in all these things. And all it comes down to is confidence. I joke, but there was an era when, they called it colloquially big dick energy. And the joke was really this all came down to confidence. Folks that were carrying a bigger tool had more confidence, and thus women could sense this. And I'm not saying that's true at all, but there is something to confidence, and sometimes it just manifests with our genitals, okay? The second head is, so to speak. All right, there are other things I want to close or kind of bring into this episode as well, because I kind of mentioned it initially, but the infomercials that we all saw at late night TV. Well, besides the pills that don't really work, and there are no pills that are really going to enhance your penis. There are pills to give you a harder erection, and a harder erection is going to appear as big as it's going to be, but there really are no pills out there that are going to give you a naturally bigger penis. They just don't exist. If you find pills like this, send them to me. Send me the link, leave a comment, let me know where they are, because to date, they don't exist. They might exist in the future, but in 2025, they don't. However, there is a method that you will see both online in historical textbooks. I believe it may have originated in the Arabian Peninsula. during the time of the Muslim conquest, and it is called jelqing. Jelqing is an age-old technique by which you essentially pull on your penile skin to stretch the tissues. And there are people on Reddit and online forums that swear by this, and they say, my penis is longer, it's bigger, and so forth. But let me just tell you why this is a bad idea, and especially in the youth and the teenagers who I have seen both in my DMs and in comments and messages that they do and perform this and result in early erectile dysfunction. You can stretch skin anywhere in the body, okay? And the penis is no difference, okay? You can absolutely stretch your penile skin. However, stretching the skin does not stretch the blood vessels, okay? And if it does, you're just putting them at risk for damage, scar tissue, and injury. I've seen terrible cases, severe cases of men jelqing themselves to the point of bruising and resulting in a longer, more flaccid penis that can no longer get hard. And I end up having to put in a penile prosthesis in them, okay? You cannot stretch the true tissues to make them longer, okay? It's just not gonna work. The jelqing will result in maybe the appearance of a longer pickle, longer penis, but one that does not get as hard. What good is having a wonderful, luxurious house if it's all a picture and that you can't live in it? That is what jelqing will do. It will give you the appearance, the facade of maybe having something longer and bigger, but the truth is it won't be longer, it won't be bigger, it'll just be limpier, okay? I don't even think that's a word, but you will have a limp noodle for a penis and potentially permanent erectile dysfunction. And thus, jelqing is no bueno in 2025. So, I've already covered why jelqing is a bad idea, why pills don't work. We've talked about silicone-based implant or penile filler being safe and effective means of getting a bigger and better penis. However, how do you go about actually getting this done? Besides finding a competent surgeon, here are some things I would consider before embarking on this endeavor. First thing to consider is, why are you doing this? Okay, I mentioned earlier the confidence aspect, but there are many other ways you can be confident in yourself. This can come from the way you dress, from the way you carry yourself, from the way you speak, your hygiene, your hair, your skin, and so forth. The truth is, the only person seeing your penis 99% of the time is you and any potential partners. And so you have to ask yourself, since you have your penis 99% of the time and you're the one seeing it, how does it make you feel alone when you're with yourself? Are you confident with what you have, or is it causing you bothersome issues? And for me, what I have found with patients is that this tends to be the biggest issue at hand. It's almost never the partners that come and say, hey, I want my partner to have something bigger. That is seldom the case. I've had guys that have great success with smaller penises, medium, large, it doesn't matter. It really comes down to the self-confidence. So before you embark on this journey of you want to do a silicone implant, you want some type of filler, don't ever do jelqing or pills, ask yourself how you feel about it yourself. If you're doing it because you think your partner needs it, or future partners, that will almost never be the right answer. And what I mean by not the right answer, I mean it probably won't get you the results that you want. The most satisfied patients that I see in my clinic are the ones that they know how they feel about their penis, they get the enhancement, they look down there, and they're just happy. They're just smiling, they just feel really good about themselves, and they get that nice boost in confidence. Thank you guys for listening to episode 3 of The Gentleman's Vault, where I discuss penile enhancement 2025. If you are interested in these procedures, you can always leave a comment. You can reach out. I take consultations. I see patients for both of these procedures, and it's something that we can get done for you, safe and effective. And if you're just curious, you want to see what this actually looks like in person, you want to come see me in person, I'm also taking new patients, so that's also a possibility. I have a practice right now that extensively focuses on penile enhancement, and this is something I'm really passionate about. Guys, stay tuned. We've got more episodes coming. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and I hope to see you at our next episode.